This match is now officially a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
Broken, thankless, push you down, open.
And welcome to the first ever official episode of Monday Night Madness. Now, you're going to go, what the fuck is going on here? Where's Clint at? You know what? Show's so special. We brought in the WCW expert. Joining me on hosting duties is DJT Rev. Trev, how the hell are you?
I am fucking fantastic. Hoochie Daddy, how are you?
I'd be fantastic if StreamYard would work once in a while, but it's doing good. As always, this is DJT Rev. You can find him at DJTRev24 on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it nowadays. I've already started dropping bombs, so it's okay. And me, it's not working. I'm Ethan. You can find me at Jensen Collins 3 on the X or the Twitter or whatever it is. And we are Monday Night Madness. Now, usually you see us over at On A Forklift. And if you are watching this on A Forklift, do not fret because this is simulcast with our friends over at World Championship Wreckage. If you're on World Championship Wreckage and you're going, what are these two buffoons doing on your TV? Well, most of the time, the guys here on World Championship Wreckage like to bring you a more in-depth breakdown on minutia that happened across the landscape of World Championship Wrestling. However, Trevor and I have decided to take it back to the beginning of Monday Nitro. And this is where it specializes. Trev, I wanted to start off with this question before we even get into the episode. What made WCW special for you?
So WCW is what got me into wrestling, into professional wrestling. Every Monday, I would sit in front of a TV with my dad. That was the one thing that I looked forward to every week, was getting to sit down and just watch wrestling. That was our family time, actually. All of us would just sit, watch wrestling. I can't tell you about how bad my dad lost it during the NWO when that started, which don't worry, that will come in time. You'll get to hear about our shenanigans with that. But that's basically what got me into WCW, was because of my dad.
I was a child of a divorced household. My mom did not watch wrestling. Not that she didn't let me watch it, but my dad, that was where it was. I went to his house. I watched wrestling. And when I was at his house, it was WCW. If we were at my grandpa's house, it was WWF. That's just how it shook out. So I watched a lot of Monday Nitro and a lot of Thunder. Now, mind you, their divorce took place in 1995, which is very key and pivotal to the fact of what's going on here with WCW, because it was this time, September 4th, 1995, that I vividly remember the first episode of Monday Nitro. Now, if you're wondering what's going to happen on the show, Trev and I, like I said, we're hearkening it back to the beginning of Monday Nitro. We're going to run through the gamut every single episode. Now, not every episode of Monday Night Madness is only going to encapsulate one episode of Nitro, because there were some stinkers out there that we can cover really quick. The pivotal moments, though, that's what we want to get in depth in. And the first episode of Nitro, the first explosion onto the scene for WCW, which had been a company previously, and there was a little bit of gravitas there with Hulk Hogan, but it really came with that opening shot at Mall of America, and just how filthy was that, man? Trev, give me your opinions on like that opening pan when you went through and you got the badass Nitro video, which in my opinion kicked the ever-loving shit out of the Raw opening video at that time, and then it panned into that crowd. What was your reaction? Because you're slightly older than I am. You'll remember it better.
So my reaction was, how were they trying? Actually, my reaction was, why did they pick Mall of America to do the first episode of Nitro? Why not stick with a normal arena or, hell, even a gym? No, they decided to do Mall of America.
And I thought of that too. I said, why not Atlanta? That's where WCW is based out of. Why wouldn't you have went to like the Georgia Dome or something, wherever the Hawks were playing at the time? But no, you chose Mall of America. And I think a big reason for that is when you look at this image that's going to appear on the screen shortly, look at that. Just look at everything that's going on there. There are 3 levels. There's people in the elevator standing there watching this product happen.
Exactly. And if you bring that image back up, you will actually see that there is a bunch of stores that does not exist anymore.
No, there's a fatality. You've got a Toys R Us here. I don't know what this is like. A guest
service merchandise.
Oh, it is service merchandise. Okay,
but it's just like that's showing how old I am for me to remember all those.
But you know what? So big thing that Nitro set apart from me, and before we get into the minutia of what's happening here, Nitro came out and they were like yellow turnbuckles, blue canvases. We're changing shit up. And as a kid, you watch Power Rangers, you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everything was colorful. You go over, you watch Raw, and it's either a gray or a black canvas, and maybe black turnbuckles or red turnbuckles. It didn't feel 90s enough, right? Like it kind of still felt like it was stuck in the 80s. And this really embraced that like a bombastic nature of the early 90s.
Right. I mean, even with the refs, WWF, they were still rocking the ref shirts and a bow tie. Were they rocking the ref shirts?
No, they did not have ref shirts yet. They also had the button-ups with the bow ties, but I believe that they were
white.
I think they were like white, and then WCW had the blue ish, like the denim kind of.
Yeah, they were going with the 90s colors, while Vince McMahon said he didn't want to change anything, so he just left it the way it was.
And this is really where everything started, though, is with Nitro. And it gets me to this thing to where you come onto the screen, and what it does is it pans and you have Eric Bischoff talking, and then somebody who gives so much gravitas to wrestling appears on your screen first. Much like the first episode of Monday Night Raw, Bobby the Brain Heenan is one of the first people that we see on camera in this episode. And I think that even though there was a history on WCW existing before this, that without Bobby the Brain Heenan, this episode would not mean as much as it does.
Nope. Bobby just had that voice, like, and that sarcasm. Like he was the heel announcer. Well, not announcer, but the heel commentator, while Eric Bischoff and Steve Mongo McMichael were the ones trying to be positive.
There's so much of this. I think you brought up a good point, though, about Bischoff being on here. Something that gets lost when we talk about Eric Bischoff is how good of an actual ringside commentator he was. Bischoff was actually very good in this role, and it helped propel him into being that on-screen character because he'd been there from the beginning. So when he finally inevitably transitions into that role, you're like, okay, I know this guy. I know what he's doing. Like, I know what's happening here. But he's got a very calming voice, I've noticed over watching the first couple episodes of Nitro. I fell into this lull where I was like, wow, I really like listening to this guy talk. And Mongo, you can tell he's very inexperienced on the mic here, but he's doing his best. He's trying.
Exactly. You know, he went from being a football player to being a commentator, and then later on a wrestler. And he was a good one too, in my opinion.
Oh man, I love the Twitter page, the Mongo Clips one. If it still exists, folks, go check it out. It's Steve Mongo McMichael botching all kinds of things, but nobody gets hurt in them. And man, I had a dog named Mongo who was named after Mongo from Blazing Saddles and Mongo from Steve Mongo McMichael. It was a combination thing here. So, but that moves us in. So after this little talky bit that we had at the beginning, we moved into the first match of the night, which was a historic match. Jushin Thunder Liger and Flying Brian, the pre-loose cannon Brian Pillman, as you can see here in this image.
Which just came back from injury. Being out for a while, I think it was his knee.
Yeah, I believe it was his knee. He had reconstructive surgery on his knee.
Yeah, so he just came back, and all the moves he was doing. I mean, you just saw the picture that was on there. You could tell how much pain he was in, but he still pulled it off. There was a couple botches because of his knee, but
very much. He's going into this with ring rust. I'm sure that there was a slight language barrier with Liger in this, but what a way to kick off and say, hey, this is what WCW is. You're used to seeing these gimmicky guys go on stage over here on the Fed, but then you come over here on Nitro and we're going to give you this hard hitting cruiserweight action with Flying Brian and one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time, Jushin Thunder Liger. Now, I made a couple of notes about this match, and I'm curious if there's some things that you noticed as well on this. One of the thing that I noticed is, like, looking back on this, it's such a shame to see what happened to Brian's life, seeing how much potential he had at this moment.
It was a shame.
Also, was that the tallest referee known to man? Because that referee was tall as hell in that match. I'm watching it going, this guy's got to be 6'6". Like, he's got to be that. And then they put that short guy in there later during the Hogan matches to make Hogan look bigger. But, man.
And then also, okay, so compared to the referees today, okay, I nearly watched that match and watched how long it took for the ref to drop down to do the 3 count. And it just seemed like you could have counted to 10 before even he got to 3.
It wasn't fast. Let's just put it that way. It was not a fast count. The referees clearly are not as athletic as they were. There's a couple other things that I noticed in this. So the ring looked small, and maybe that was just me, but it looked like an 18 by 18. It did not look like a 20 by 20 until Hogan got in there. It really looked like a small ring, and I don't know why.
Might have been the camera angle.
Might have been Liger, even up to a couple of years ago, man, or just recently on AEW Dynamite when he presented the trophy to Ricky Starks, man, Liger always looks like a superhero, like Power Rangers, man. Like, this dude was a legend.
Yeah, Power Rangers. He looked like a mixture between, what was it?
Like Ultraman and the Red Ranger?
No, Ultraman and the White Ranger.
Okay, yeah, I can buy that. This other thing that took place at this point is this New Japan Pro Wrestling partnership helped WCW so much in these early years, being able to exchange the talent and then going on to people like the Great Muta and things like that. I have a hard time believing WCW would have existed as long as it did if that partnership wasn't in place.
No, it probably, even with the money that Ted Turner was throwing around for WCW, if New Japan did not help out WCW at the beginning, I don't think it would have lasted as long as it did.
I know you had guys like Luger and Hogan, and we'll get into that being there, but the staples on the card beneath that, like you had to have somebody there to draw people in, to get people's attention. And they were just so good at it, especially Liger. Liger was really that guy. I mean, he put a whole different set of eyes on this product if they were able to get a hold of it. Other than that, what I had to talk about the first match, Liger had one of the best drop kicks ever, and that was all the way up until he retired. Still phenomenal drop kick. It's really dumb that that's like a single thing you can point out, but man, always perfectly vertical, just fantastic drop kick. But the thing that hit me in the heart, I have a 4.5-year-old kid. My 4.5-year-old kid at this point right now is the exact same age that I was when I first saw Monday Nitro. We were almost like, she's a couple of weeks young. She's a couple of weeks different birth date than I am on the calendar. And so we're a couple of weeks from September. And man, let me just tell you, I look at it and I go, holy shit, 28 years of my life that I've sat there and went, yep, I've been watching wrestling that long. And this is one of my earliest memories, not only of wrestling, but as a human being. Man, it really just developed.
Yeah.
Trev, I'm going to bring up an image here, and I want you to tell me what you think of when I bring up this image, because we're going down the card, and you know what's next, buddy. What do you think of when you see this?
Pastamania.
I am blown away by the fact that this was the thing. And it's the whole bit that they did. It's low this, it's low this, it's high protein. I'm like, it's fucking pasta. Guys, it's carbs. It's full of carbs, it's full of sugar. That's exactly what this is. Look at this menu. I found a Pasta Mania menu. This is what this is. By the way, prices in the 90s, this is outrageous in the 90s. Trust me.
But compared to now, or probably that same dinner is about $20.
I know, it's ridiculous. Here's my thing. Listen, give me the angel hair pasta with the garlic oil. I'm good for it. Here's my other thing, though. I don't want anything that says Hulk's Power Pasta or Hulkaroni and cheese.
Wait, bring that back up?
Yeah, down in the right corner. Hulkaroni and cheese for little pasta maniacs.
Hulkios?
Hulkios. They're SpaghettiOs, but
if you go on YouTube, anybody that's watching, you can actually find videos of somebody that went and found an old Pasta Mania and actually went inside and just nostalgia. But I think the building has since been demolished since that happened. But just bringing up nostalgia, it's like that was just Hulk. What were you thinking, man? That's all.
I don't know. But so, and the other thing is Hogan in this promo that they're doing outside of the pasta, eat your pasta mania, brother. He's 42 years old. WCW was putting all of their cards on a 42-year-old guy to carry this company through. So if we get to this whole like age debate of when can somebody carry a company through, knock it off. Hogan was 42 at this. Let's just cut it because he carried that company until the end. And he inevitably was the demise of the company as well. But, you know, he still carried it to the end. Match number 2. Two of the guys that outside of Diamond Dallas Page, these guys were WCW to me.
Oh, hell yeah, they are. They were. But you had Sting, who was the champion at the time. He was the
U.S. champion.
Yeah, the U.S. champion. Coming out as Surfer Sting, not Crow Sting yet.
Nope.
And Ric Flair.
Surfer Sting never surfed, though.
Yeah. Nope. Never.
We've got a lovely image here of his Prince. I can only assume because this was like a purple. This picture doesn't do it justice as this is more pinkish, but it was a very purple outfit. And they're in Minneapolis, the land of Prince. So this has got to be a nod to Paisley Park. But you can tell that there's a change in Sting here. This is where we're starting to go a little bit darker. We're starting to get a little different. And Flair's robe, however, looks like a couch that my grandmother used to own.
And that robe is probably worth more than any couch ever made.
I can't tell you this, but I think that's also the robe that he wore out to his retirement match against Shawn. I know he wore it during the Legacy run, the same robe.
Right. No, he wore it during he wore it during Evolution.
Yeah, sorry, Evolution, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. He wore that during Evolution, but I don't think he wore that robe for his retirement match.
Did he wear the blue one?
I think he wore the blue one.
Okay. Yeah, either way.
Because I think at that time, that robe was actually missing. And it wasn't until they did WWE Lost Treasures that they found it.
It's crazy that he didn't lose more of those things. I don't have, there's not a lot to talk about this match. This is very much a Sting or Flair match, right? Flair's taking bumps. It's amazing that he wrestled as long as he did. His chops are as stiff as the way, the ring sounded as stiff as Flair's chops.
Yeah. And actually, this was the match where we had
somebody. T-shirt.
Yep.
I'm going to bring this image up because I could not get an image to load. But Lex Luger is wearing the Seinfeld t-shirt, the Seinfeld shirt. That's the best way I can put it. The puffy shirt.
The Michael Bolton shirt.
The Michael Bolton shirt, yes.
No, but when he showed up, the whole crowd just went nuts.
because this is the first time that this was a continuation. Kayfabe was still real at this point. People didn't know better. They didn't know things like we know now. It was beautiful because everybody goes, "Hey, he's a Fed guy. Here's a Fed guy. What's he doing on our screen? Why is this a thing?" So before the Outsiders, there was Lex Luger. This is what led into that. And not only did Lex Luger come out during this match, but after Lex Luger came out and did his thing, Arn Anderson came out and did his thing. And Arn Anderson's windbreaker game is he has the best fucking windbreakers in the game. Like, just, it knows no shame. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and
that's really what happens on this. Arn goes after Flair.
It ends in a no contest.
It ends in a no contest. Sting ends up winning. There's a random Scott Norton appearance at the end of this. Scott Norton comes out. This is like a microcosm of what it's funny to look at this card because you go, first match, great. First match, really fun, good wrestling, things like that. Second match starts off really hot. And by the end of it, we're at 2001 WCW. Because it's just random shit happen for the sake of fucking random shit happening. So you almost watch the whole company happen in this card. Because then at the end, you have Hogan just doing Hogan things. It's wild. And then after this, I don't know where you watched this at, but did you see the Sabu vignette? There was a Sabu vignette for WCW Sabu, and I don't remember him being there. So,
actually, no, you're right. I think he was supposed to be on the next Nitro, and he never made it.
I don't know. We haven't watched the next Nitro yet, so this is the perfect thing. Like, everybody, you're watching this with us. Like, you're rediscovering everything with us because we watched it as kids. We haven't went back and watched it. So I'm like, okay, I remember enough of what happened, but then there's these little inside bits that I don't remember. So Sabu vignette plays. It's got this knockoff Nirvana music, like that very 90s grungy, like no, like licensed for like free license music or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And horrible editing too. That like editing where it's like, and you have like that shadow image follow them across the screen in the chroma key. Yeah, that's what happens. Then we have a Mean Gene sighting in the middle of the ring, which I'm always going to bring this up. I fucking love Gene Okerlund. I will never not like Gene Okerlund. Everything he did, I always felt like he brought his absolute A game to the table. It's wonderful.
He was such a great person to have behind the scenes. Just for interviews, he was a great interviewer. He did his job to the T. Like, even like when something got botched, like I think it was WWF when a sign fell.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah. He just kept going, man. This rolled into a Fall Brawl War Games promo, which very topical because War Games just happened. Blood and Guts just happened. The spiritual successor to War Games, not the actual successor to War Games, which is War Games whenever that takes place, if that's going to be at Survivor Series this year or not. Then we got a Mr. Wall Street promo, which was kind of the first iteration of WCW going, hey, we're just going to do the same exact character with a different name than you had in WWF. So you did not have IRS, you had Mr. Wall Street.
Which was so cheesy.
Oh God, it was.
I mean, it's going back to like when Brutus the Barber Beefcake came into WCW, and he ended up being a member of what the hell was it? The Doom, the Legion. Was it the Legion?
I don't remember what it was, but it was.
I'll think of it and I'll come back to it. But yeah, no, gave him a different character. Or when he came in as a knockoff of Hulk Hogan in the NWO, but no, you had to give IRS Mr. Wall Street.
He almost pulled the Gordon Gekko line out. He almost said the greed is good thing. There was another goofball line that was for WCW in these early days, and it was where the big boys play. And all I could think is, I was like, that's a Ram Ranch promo. That's exactly what that is. That's a Ram Ranch promo if I've ever heard it. But we get into the main event. right after this, and it's got one of your favorites in this, and then Hulk Hogan. So I am sure that the DJT Rev, who is sitting on the other side of the screen for me, he is one of the biggest Big Bubba Rogers fans out there. Am I incorrect on this?
No.
Yeah, see, you knew it. You're the only person that ever pulled out a Big Bubba Rogers thing during a quiz.
Yeah. Remember, I was the one that won for WCW during the quiz show. And then lost it because I picked TNA like a dumbass.
Yeah, it's okay. Things happen. I do want to say something. So we get to this match, and we already know how this match is going to shake out. We've seen Luger earlier in the night. We knew he was going to show up in the thing. Let's give some flowers to Ray Traylor right here, because Boss Man was like Big Bubba. He was so good at selling.
Yeah, no,
man was like Dolph Ziggler levels of sells.
Man, no, he was great. I don't have too many words to say, but he was an excellent. He put on a good show anytime he was in the ring.
So something I noticed in early WCW, speaking of this match, WCW never name dropped the refs. Like, they never said the names of the refs. I always had to go and find them. Now, mind you, my Google Docs thing got screwed up, so I don't have the names of the refs here that ref this. It was only 2 of them. But they were, and one of them passed away. The guy that actually refed this match passed away. I think he was relatively young. He was only like 42 when he inevitably left us, unfortunately. R.I.P. But he was a pretty good ref for a while in WCW. I think all the way up until almost the end. Yeah, so that was that. Also, so this ended, Jimmy Hart came out in his drip. So Jimmy Hart drip, bing. And then Hogan was kind of a dickhead as a face. Like, he was not a clean baby face at all.
Right. No, he wasn't. He was the kind of guy that walked into the ring and was like, oh, we're doing it my way, or you can get the fuck out.
Right. So Jimmy's on the apron distracting him, and Hogan's over there doing some heelish stuff. And I was like, you're supposed to be the good guy in this match. You're not supposed to be the bad guy. What is going on here? And so it's almost like you could see this turn, because let's think about this. We're 9 months from NWO.
Yeah, you're right on that one. I forgot about that.
The NWO came along real quick in WCW. It doesn't seem like it, but it did. Oh, I'm sorry. Not WCW. It's WCW. WCW. Because that's all Lex Luger can say. Here in WCW. Why did I sound like Cornette?
I have no idea.
But he did. He was, and Hogan also did this little pokey thing. But we should have known the finger poke of doom was coming, because he kept poking Luger in the chest and doing this. And he was like, in WCW, brother, and you haven't gone through what I've gone through. And Luger's all like, I've gone through everybody you've gone through. I know where you came from, and I'm here for that belt. And Sting and Macho Man are standing in the ring like, yo, fuck, we been here. Where's our chance at?
Right.
This ended in a locker room brawl that was full of like spittle, finger poking, intensity, glistening humans, because they were all baby oiled up. But also a raucous crowd. The crowd was eating this shit up so much. And it brings me to my last point. And Trev, I'm going to let you have the last word on everything here, but book another show at Mall of America. AEW, if you're listening, if you've hacked my computer, book a show at Mall of America. Do this for me, because these people are going to love this.
Even if it's a Ring of Honor show.
No, I need Dynamite there. I need Dynamite there specifically because of the name. Or Collision. It's got the same color scheme.
Dynamite or Collision. Take either. Actually, no. Collision would be the better one, because it's actually walking around with the old WCW logo now for the font.
Mm-hmm.
So Collision would be the better one of the two to do it. But yeah, please do it before Vince gets a wild hair up his ass to have NXT or.
So I know that like First has done it. First Wrestling out of Minnesota, they've done a show there. But put AEW in there and give me the colors. Give me the blue canvas. Give me the yellow turnbuckles. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh,
Do it, you cowards.
yeah. No,
I
actually,
bet you won't.
no. That would be like an anniversary. Like, I know we can't use the letters, but this is an anniversary of when so and so was here in Mall of America at this date. Because really, if you actually think about it, I'm 34 years old. That episode of Nitro happened 29 years ago.
Yeah. It's absolutely wild to me. Here I am trying to pull up a calendar and I can't. My computer has said, no, screw you, dickhead. You're not doing that. So that kind of brings us to the end of the show. We're going to roll into episode 2. And the next time that you see us, these episodes are probably going to be twice monthly. You're probably going to get 2 a month. And I think episode 2 is probably going to encapsulate episode 2, 3, and 4 of Monday Nitro, because I don't think a lot happens in those. And a lot of these earlier episodes are there's only about 45 minutes of actual footage for us to watch. So they're reduced. But man, I had a blast rewatching this and just unlocking memories.
I did too. But there was one match that actually was a dark match that was not aired on
Really?
first episode of Nitro.
Tell me about it, because I don't know anything about this.
It was the American Males, which was Bagwell and Scotty Riggs versus Buckhouse Buck and Dick Slater with Colonel Robert Parker. And
I can see why it was a dark match. And also very topical of you to bring up Buff Bagwell right now.
Well, I mean, he is a WCW alumni.
Shame.
And they were the ones that won the match too. There's no video of it. I've been looking. But...
Yeah, no, that's probably one of those ones that there's absolutely nothing out there. It's lost to the world forever.
Yeah.
But
I will go on a note and say, for the next episode, if anybody has any questions for me or for Hoochie Daddy right there, please message us at either DJTRev24.
Yeah, on a Forklift Wrestling Pod, we've got all of these things, please. So as for my compatriot here, holy shit, it's Trevor Davis. You can find him at DJTRev24 on the socials. You can find me at Jensen Collins 3 on X or Twitter. I hate that Elon's got a absolutely weird, I don't know, he's got things. Anyway, you can find us on a Forklift Pod on Twitter. You can find this episode on a Forklift Wrestling Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We are no longer on Twitch, and this will be a YouTube exclusive video. I do not have the title card in here for this. However, this episode will also air on World Championship Wreckage first before it airs on the On A Forklift YouTube channel. So please go give our friends over at World Championship Wreckage, where you're probably watching this, unless you're watching it on a forklift, a follow, a like, a subscribe. These guys are doing fantastic content. Everybody that's over there, Will, Dad Hat, Husky, they've got shows that they are just knocking stuff out of the park. They do a very good there's a very good episode about the best managers ever in WCW. Please go watch that. I really enjoyed that episode. There's also a couple episodes of where Will has an absolute breakdown about Disco Inferno. So that's pretty fun to watch a man lose his fucking mind actively. Most of the shows are not going to be 35 minutes long, people. We wanted to kind of give you an idea of what to expect throughout this show. We're probably going to keep them more to 20, 25 minutes. We do get derailed from time to time. But the only other person doing any railing here is DJ T-Rev.
I knew you were going to bring up the hog.
We won't talk about that yet, but we will get to that later. So once again, for myself and for Trevor over here, we love you, Judy.
We love you, Judy.